Hello, and thanks for tuning in. This is Bloomberg Quint, and I'm Alex Matthew. If you followed the presentation of the union budget this time around, you'll have noticed that there weren't any major changes to the tax slabs or, in fact, to the tax rates. But there were changes made to the extent of exemption of tax that one can claim in a couple of instruments. One of them was the Employee Provident Fund, and the other was ULIPs. We're here to talk about the first one. From the new financial year, the interest earned on contributions to the Employee Provident Fund beyond 2.5 lakh will be taxable. Who are the individuals that have to take note of this? Is there a way around this? Is there a way of capping your Provident Fund contributions? And should you look for an alternative if indeed you are being affected by this? These are some of the questions that people have asked, and I'll be trying to get answers to all of those over the course of the next few minutes. My guest today is Arvind Rao, Chartered Accountant and Certified Financial Planner. Thanks so much, Arvind, for joining me today. First of all,
it's been a pleasure.
It's clear that the move is meant to plug the misuse of this brilliant investment option. The finance minister, in fact, in a press conference that followed the presentation of the budget, said that there were instances where a 1 crore transaction was being made every month into the EPFO or the fund itself. But what kind of individual or what type of individual can we safely say broadly would get affected by this cap?
Indeed, Alex. I mean, help me name any other instrument today which is giving you kind of 8%, which is secured and which was tax-free. There is absolutely nothing, right? So, as we say, all good things somewhere come to an end. And I think PF is that segment which is bearing the brunt this time. So, like you rightly said, one was what we normally call as the mandated contributions that go to the EPF. And then the other bit is the voluntary contribution that an employee does on his own accord to take advantage of the EPF scheme. However, the way the provision that has been proposed in this budget, it only talks about keeping a threshold of 2.5 lakhs of contribution. Without making any distinction between a mandated contribution or a voluntary contribution. So, speaking of which, definitely all those people who are having a basic salary, which is maybe anywhere close to 10 lakh to 20 lakh, and are voluntarily matching their mandated contribution are the first ones that will get covered and will see their contributions going above 2.5 lakh per annum. I mean, whether it is a crore or whether it is some figure running into lakhs, it depends upon the higher you go, the more certain you are of breaching this cap.
Especially with the new labor code coming in and the requirement for half of your CTC to be basic, one would assume that if you hit that 20 lakh mark, you're right on the threshold of 2.5 lakh if you are not making voluntary contributions, like you said, to the Provident Fund. If you are making voluntary contributions, obviously your salary would be lower than that. But those people above that threshold, if you are not making voluntary contributions, need to bear in mind that next year, their contributions beyond 2.5 lakh. So suppose their contributions are 3 lakh. On the 50,000 excess beyond 2.5 lakh, you're going to be paying tax. That's correct, isn't it? And what is the rate of tax that we're talking about?
They're going to be paying tax on the interest.
On the interest. And what is the tax that we're talking about? Is it going to be a slab rate tax?
It will be a slab rate tax. But since you mentioned this here, things that are one major element that is unclear as we speak, and I'm sure there will be some clarity that will emerge in the run-up for the budget to become an act, is how is this tax going to get implemented? I mean, will it be charged by the company, added to the salary and taxed? Or will it be the Employee Provident Fund Trust which will be doing the TDS bit on it? Or will it be the employee who has to add this additional interest to his return of income? All this is unclear as of now, but I'm only hoping that there will be instructions that will be issued on this regard shortly.
Arvind, all of those instances that you just, or options that you just suggested, it's not like they're the easiest thing to do. Perhaps for the trust to do a TDS would be the easiest thing, but unfortunately, at this stage, what we know is that the interest rate that is declared by the trust is quite late in the year. So
Absolutely.
there's no option to do a TDS. You would have to retrospectively cut tax unless you assume a rate of interest.
Number one. Number two, the other day, I think, in fact, yesterday, there was a conversation happening around this. And somebody was talking about, there is also an interest that you pay for shortfall of paying advance tax on time. So in case this was to be the employee's burden to be done, so there could be a practical difficulty there, because like you rightly said, if the interest rate itself is declared with a lag, it gets difficult to estimate this income and probably calculate the advance taxes on that, if any.
So we'll have to wait for a clarification from either the Ministry of Finance or, in fact, from the trust to see how this will be done operationally. But let's assume that this will take place and there will not be a change in the policy measure that was introduced in the budget. Assuming that, is there a way around it? I would think that for people who are doing that VPF, and that VPF is essentially, or the voluntary contribution is taking them beyond that 2.5, they can possibly make a change. The question is, should they?
Alex, if you ask me, there are only two ways to do it. One is, from what we understand, the law is slowly moving towards a place where there are going to be no tax-free investments left. And so one way is to, or the most easiest way is to accept this and move towards that regime, wherein you know that a certain percentage, as long as the risk is the lowest, and even if it is getting taxed a bit, I'm still okay with that, and I continue the way things are. And on the other end is those people who are still not, who would want to tweak their financial affairs in a way so that they still pay the lowest tax, in which case some maneuvering around maybe the basic component in the salary could be done, other than reducing your voluntary contribution, so that you could not fall in this ambit of exceeding 2.5 lakhs per annum.
Arvind, incidentally, I was speaking to somebody from the compensation and benefits team of a very large corporation in India. And what they were saying is perhaps for the smaller companies, you could make a bit of a change in the salary structure to adjust the basic. But for the larger organizations, there's already a policy in place, and that's how we're going to structure it. So in that sense, the only option available then for somebody who is automatically crossing the threshold of 2.5 lakh, not making voluntary contributions, is to cap your contributions to the Provident Fund to a 15,000 basic. And that seems to be the only way to do it.
Absolutely, which is the mandated maximum. And Alex, as we speak, even today, there are certain organizations who are following this practice of restricting the PF to the maximum of 15,000, which comes to around 1,800 a month or so.
But he also mentioned that this is not really the best thing for the employee, because when you do that, when you cap it to 15,000, the employer's contribution, which is matching that 12% that you make, is also capped at 15,000. So you're losing out on 2.5 lakhs of tax-free contribution by your employer and the interest that you would earn on that. So that's not really the best thing to do, is it?
Well, the other way to look at it is that generally the employer's contribution to PF is a part of the CTC. So even if they were to match the limited contribution that a person does, the employee would be well taken care of as long as the balance portion comes back to his hands by way of some other components in the salary. But given that it would be a tax-free contribution going, at least the accrual on that, versus getting the same amount in hand by paying tax, that does make a difference. But I mean, so much for some solace here.
Yeah, that's like saying I want to spend 80% of my the money in my account and go to the Bahamas for a vacation, or I want to save it up for my retirement, right? That's essentially unless we're talking about people earning beyond a certain point. That's not really what we're getting at. But another question, Arvind, that I got from someone yesterday was, assuming I'm right on the threshold, Okay, so assuming that my basic is 20 lakhs, and that would make my CTC anywhere between, around 40 lakhs, one can say, or maybe above 40 lakhs. Assuming that I am going to get a decent increment this time, and I'm going to be taken beyond that threshold. And so therefore, I'm going to cross the 2.5 lakh mark in the coming financial year. Is there an option for me to tell my employer to say, instead of giving me that entire amount, can you put a certain amount in the national pension scheme? Because a company is allowed to make a 10% contribution of your basic, 10% of basic to the NPS. So your basic would not go up to that extent because it would be a cost to the company.
This is one of the option, and this is more of like an immediate solution that can be applied. But somewhere it will also hit a roadblock, because the maximum amount is that an employer can contribute to NPS is also as capped at 10% of basic. So maybe for the next year or two, this solution may work. But a slightly medium to long term solution, I think there is especially for the ones in the higher salary brackets, there is no escaping this threshold and the tax that comes on the interest.
Okay, so to close this out, I would think that somebody who is naturally crossing this threshold would, I think, have to accept it. And that essentially is what I'm getting from this. But somebody who is doing a VPF plus EPF, that is making voluntary contributions, they have the option of shifting that. Would you say that if they are building a corpus for the long term, perhaps they can take that portion that they were putting in VPF, since this is now taxable, and put it in instruments like, say, a debt scheme or into long-term equity, considering that long-term equity has a 10% long-term capital gains? So on the tax front, at least they're taken care of.
Alex, my view here is it is going to be either PF or something like a non-PF, because the return and the security that PF comes with, frankly, there is nothing available today that matches that. So the any other alternative that one looks at beyond PF, whether it is an NPS or even a debt scheme or even any equity, comes with its own risk and a person's risk appetite for that. So however long the tenure may be, one has to take that call that you don't mind diverting it to an alternate instrument, but one has to keep in mind that it is going to be difficult to match all the attributes that you were getting under the EPF scheme.
Well, that more or less answers all of the questions that I had as of now. Of course, once we get clarifications, hopefully from the Finance Ministry as to how this is going to be organized and conducted, we'll get back and get more clarifications from you. Thank you, Arvind, for joining me on this conversation.
It's been a pleasure, Alex. Good day to you.
And to you, dear viewer, thank you so much for joining in. I hope that this clarified some of your questions. If you've got more, do write to us on any one of our social media platforms. We'll get in touch and we'll answer all of the questions that you have for us. This is Bloomberg Quint.